No.
Welcome to the My Haunt Life podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the My Haunt Life podcast, episode 15. I'm Mike.
And I'm Russell.
And we will start with the tension experience. So when we last left off with the tension experience from the last podcast, we had mentioned that there was a new PR firm that came in, and Sam Bickerson was having a Q&A. Well, a couple days after that, that same PR letter appeared on the site with 3 big streaks of blood. 3. See what I'm getting at?
Mike, are you referencing Gatekeeper 3, perhaps?
Yes, Russell, I am. And the letter was edited, it was blacked out, and what you were able to read through the blacking out was this. So you had the 3 blood stains, and then what wasn't blacked out said, "Is real, is the last counted, and final. 3 will never stop until it all burns."
Which that actually, the reference to burning is something that we had heard before in the tension experience.
Yeah, from Benny/Mark, who was Addison's ex. So could it be possible that Benny is 3 somehow? It's a super stretch, but, you know, he's really one of the only people that have said that.
Yeah, definitely.
So later that day, after that letter was posted, 3 made a post on the forums, and he directed it to the clockmakers, and it made it sound like he was captured, and then escaped, and then killed Sam's men, and then Sam. And he did blow the whistle. We talked about blowing the whistle on the last podcast. And he did that in order to get Sam out into the open.
Which that was the leaked email from basically the tech department.
Right, the one that they did a dead drop in Missouri for Mustafa. And in his post, it was pretty dark. He was saying how he had to cut out the tongues and watch someone force a knife into someone else's stomach. It was pretty awesome, actually, because it was right up our alley.
And all of that supposedly happened because he had been captured, but we don't know exactly. It wasn't revealed ever as to who or why exactly he was taken.
Right. And further down in the post, he said, if you want something done, you have to do it yourself. And he meant that in regards to a message. And what he did is he gave a phone number and told us all to leave him a message telling him why we should be the ones to hear his message. So he would tell it to us, and then we would tell it to everybody else, which is kind of a contradiction by saying the only way to spread a message is to say it yourself, because he would still be using a middleman, or woman in this case. Dun, dun, dun. So then the next day, calls were going out from the Oracle Security Data and Management. They were asking people if they knew about 3's address. They were asking Sean, the Gilded, about his signature, if he ever signed anything, if he ever ate anything at our functions. Debbie got a call asking about if she was okay with getting messages to other people, things like that. A bunch of those calls went out. They were pretty similar but different at the same time. So it was basically the same questions, but every other call had maybe 1 or 2 questions that were a little bit different. Like they asked Sean about his signature. They asked other people if they had ever drank anything, or, things like that. Then the next day, there was a Periscope from 4, and it was titled "TikTok 4 Winds the Clock." And in the Periscope, it showed 4, but only the back of her and her hat. And then it showed Addison, and she was writing over and over again, "Enoch, who am I, too?" And things like that over and over, kind of like Bart Simpson on the blackboard at the beginning of every Simpsons. And then it showed her putting together a white powder and putting it into a capsule, and then putting that into a pill bottle and putting it into a package, and then wrote on the package, "For my very best."
Actually, one thing we should point out about that is the way you just described it, it sounds like it was Addison who was sort of in control. And actually in the video, to me, it looked like Addison was under the direction of 4 at all times.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can say that. It seemed like she knew what she was doing. It didn't seem like she was forced. It seemed like it was training, and when she didn't do something correct, that's when she got corrected.
Training. Actually, I think that's a good word. But, she was not calling the shots, I felt.
Right.
Even if she knew what she was doing and what she was mixing and how to mix the powder, etc., I didn't feel like she was completely in control there.
I don't know about that.
You just don't trust Addison, do you?
What? I'm very trusting. Sorry.
I stand by Addison.
I can't say that with a straight face.
Yeah, you trusting, yeah.
But here's the thing. There's nothing that shows that. It just shows her doing her thing. And it that's why, like, when people say that, it's like, well, why would you say that? Because it didn't look like, she was being controlled in any way. She was very fluid with her movements.
I thought 4 was indicating what to do next. Hand gestures and, like, yeah, I just felt, to me, it felt like 4 was the dominant personality in that room, definitely.
Oh, she definitely is, but I didn't see it in that Periscope.
Okay, all right.
That's just me.
All right, if you want to be in denial, go ahead.
Oh, boy. So anyways, we just talked about how 3 left his phone number for us to call and leave a message to Y. So then a couple days after that Periscope, 3 finally chose the person that he was going to speak to. And he chose Kim, a.k.a. Electric Hippo, a.k.a. Detractor, a.k.a. BOS Henchwoman. And he sent her an Evite, which was really, really funny because you put out this aura of yourself being this crazy homicidal maniac person, and you sent an Evite with a cupcake on it. And the Evite said, I invite you to a meeting, and you wanted to see where her allegiances really lie. So we were all freaking out, like, oh my God, like, she's going to have to choose a side and see if 3 is going to mess with her and blah, blah, blah.
But at this point, 3, represented the next gatekeeper, and, there's been various plot twists since then, but it was definitely, it felt like the OOA was really going to test Kim somehow.
Right.
That seemed the setup of the whole meeting, and just the fact that it stated, see where your allegiances lie. This looked like a complete setup for Kim to me.
Oh, yeah.
She was targeted, man.
Right. And at that point, I was thinking, well, maybe the BOS isn't as big as, we thought they were, and this is the way to get her back from them. That's what I originally thought.
Oh, that's a good idea. The fact that, like, maybe 3 had something to win her completely back.
Right.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but as we'll later find out, that was not the case, and I was wrong. The next day, there was a meetup, and it was not a Tension official meetup. It was just a bunch of us Tension nerds getting together, swimming, barbecuing, having fun, just to, talk about it. We talked about on the last podcast how we did this at a bar last month, and something happened. Well, at this meetup, something happened as well.
We were there. How long had we been there? I guess we'd been there for an hour to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So it was the middle of the afternoon, and there was an extremely funny moment where that chirping noise of the Periscope happened, and everyone literally that was within eyesight pulled their phone out instantly and switched to Periscope immediately within seconds. And it was a Periscope.
Mm-hmm. And mind you, this is all at Derek's house. So when the Periscope started, all you saw were feet and a sidewalk. And I was freaking out next to Derek. I was like, Derek, is this your sidewalk? Dude, like, is this you? Like, does you recognize this? Is this your neighborhood? And he was just like, wait, what? Huh? And he's like, actually, yeah, I think it is. And so
it was a sidewalk, okay? It
yeah,
could have been anywhere.
But you know when it's your neighborhood.
Yes, okay.
And so at that point, we all started freaking out and looking over his fence. And it was kind of like we were too shy to do anything because part of it was fear that we would ruin something. And part of it was, oh my God, like it was almost like a rock star was coming to visit you in a way. Like,
well, yeah, it was just, all of us we're nerding out about Tension Experience, and, we're invested in this thing because, we don't know exactly what is the game we're playing. We really don't know overall. But, and the fact that they periscoped and the idea that they might be periscoping 200 feet from us.
Yeah.
It was a very weird feeling. So everyone kind of rushed over to the fence and was peering over the fence.
It was a great sight. And I would love to have heard Addison's reaction, like coming here and being like, look at all these nerds just looking over the fence, you know, or something like that. Like, what does she think? You know, I know she's a part of this, but like on the other side. So it would be super interesting and funny to hear her thoughts at that moment when she saw all of us like, whoop.
So, and as Mike just mentioned, what we did see peering over the fence, I didn't see her as quickly as some other people because I was near the back of the crowd. I just heard like, oh my gosh, it's Addison. It's actually Addison. And she was walking down the sidewalk, and she walked straight up the driveway and to the front door of Derek's house. And this is where the comedy of errors began. Because somebody immediately said, okay, like, go answer the door. She's at the front door, go answer the door. And apparently I think there were two doors on the front of his house or something.
And one of them doesn't work.
She had gone to the wrong door, basically, and she hadn't gone to the door of the house. And everyone was like, well, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And so I took the initiative because I've had some contact with Addison. That's when I just walked out of the gate, and I deliberately walked away from her so I didn't approach her directly. But I walked up and I said, excuse me, Addison? And she turned and she saw me, and I said, I'm sorry, but that door doesn't work. And she looked just a little bit flustered for a moment, and then she walked directly over to me and she said, I need to speak to the head of the household. I need to speak to whoever is in charge. So that's when I looked at the group who now the fence toward the backyard was open. And I said, Derek, would you please come forward? And I moved away so they could have, even though there was this bunch of cell phones pointed at them, I moved away to give them privacy.
And so what Addison told Derek was that he had to choose someone, or we all had to choose someone to send out in 2 minutes. And if more than one person came, everything would be canceled.
And at that point, Addison walked back over to me before she left the area, and she took my hand and she said, Russell, this is not for you. Which, I got to admit, there was part of me like, wait, aw. So, but I also understood that, oh, okay, well, if this is not for me, that means something else is going on. So, I immediately came back and joined in the conversation, because the conversation then began, who do we send? If we're supposed to choose one person out of this group, we're all invested, we're all interested, who do we send?
Right, and then that's when it's like, okay, we'll pick straws. Like, no, we only have a minute left now. We don't have time. And
then somebody said, wait, somebody pick a number between 1 and 100, and then we'll all guess a number, and then we'll, no.
Yeah, it was great. But then finally we all decided on Dela, a.k.a. Lauren, or a.k.a. Dela. And she was chosen and walked out. And then all of a sudden, there was an SUV. And she got into the SUV and they drove away.
Which was slightly dramatic.
Yeah. But luckily, the periscope was still going on. So we at least saw her get into the truck. And a few minutes later, she came back with the package from Four's periscope that we just talked about, the package that said, "For my very best."
Which is what Four had written on the package, which contained the pill which Addison had created.
Right. That's when the insanity ensued, because she was told specifically to not open it. And she had to repeat and promise in the truck that she would not open it. So that's when all the loophole theories started coming out. Like, well, they told you not to open it. That doesn't mean one of us can't open it. Things like that. And then because in the past Four had called me her best boy, people were thinking, oh, it's got to be for Mike. Let Mike open it and things like that. And long story short, she didn't open it.
After a very long conversation, she made the decision, and in all fairness, we did say, for the most part, most of us said, it was her decision to make.
Right.
And the decision she made was not to open it that day at the gathering at Derek's house.
She was told not to open it, and those were specific instructions. And she also had instructions from a letter that she received as well. And that letter was from Four. And in that letter, she basically said that 3 needs to die.
Now, apparently, inside the vehicle, she had been shown photographs, and she had been told that the photographs she was looking at were people that 3 had destroyed their lives, and apparently killed, or destroyed their lives by killing people that they knew.
The way you just said killed was amazing. You're like, or killed. Like, it's fun.
It's sort of an after effect of being dead. Or I guess dead would be
Wait,
the after
what?
effect of being killed. So
Yeah. You have to die first in order to be
killed
dead.
would be first, and then death would come. Okay, all right. We digress
You
heavily.
digress. Digress.
She received this letter, and she opened it and she read it to us. And the beginning of it was, no one could ever take lightly what we need you to do. Every single face in these photos was the creator of someone else's universe. So referencing the photos that she was shown. Now, the letter states that he slaughtered them, referring to 3. Not painlessly or quickly, slowly and with great joy. Ending 3 will not be taking a life as much as saving countless more in the future. It's time. That old clock is ticked, and that old clock has talked. So, put on those big girl or boy pants, because we didn't know whether we were choosing a boy or girl to go into the vehicle, of yours, and do what needs to be done. Our Kimberly feels she must maintain a neutral position. Horse caca. You will change her mind. This is your path. That's quite a heavy assignment. It is signed by 4, and that is a heavy burden for anyone to bear, and it fell on Dela's shoulders.
Yeah.
And that was the reason the conversation became so animated, is because obviously they were expecting us to partake somehow in the death of Gatekeeper 3. And we knew that there was a pill, probably poison, inside that package. So the next question became, what do you do? Some people wanted to open the package, but overall the winning argument was that it was Dela's decision. She decided not to open it. So her next plan was to reach out, because it was her duty to change Kimberly's neutral position.
It's not neutral. She's not neutral.
Well,
She's BOS.
in the letter...
No, she's not neutral.
I know, but in the letter it says, she feels she must maintain a neutral position.
Oh, based on the meeting with 3, yeah, she said that she would. She said that on the forums, but she's BOS.
Oh yeah, she's BOS.
So that excuse was BS.
Thank you very much. So at the end of that meeting, we all left with knowing that Dela's intention was to reach out to Kim and see what her reaction was when she found out that Dela had a message to deliver.
I guess they did have that meeting because Dela posted an update on the forum saying that she had met with Kim and her position is no longer neutral and that she wishes her the best of luck in her meeting.
And says that she did deliver Kim the package.
Yep. So we were all waiting for that meeting to happen at that point. Later on that day, Tension posted a timeline, and this is such a great resource for everybody that's new. It gives a very summarized list of all the key things that have happened since February.
It includes reference to the various events and the puzzles and the steps that most people take to get caught up with Tension.
Exactly. And then also that day, Russell, you had a little something.
Which, yeah, I still don't totally understand, but it was very, very creepy. Mike, Mike every now and then sends me these awesome texts where he just gives me one word and then he'll text me a second time with the word now. You've done it to me numerous times. Like, do this now. And so he texted Facebook now. And so I knew something was up, and so I went to the Tension experience, and lo and behold, there was a video taken from the hooded, what is now people refer to as the Hood event, or the Hooded event, which was was that late May now?
Yeah.
Yeah, where we went to a location downtown, and it was the event where we were brought in hooded to a room in front of several people, told to look at ourselves in a mirror and asked various very personal questions. And they posted the video, which was shot from an angle we had not really ever seen before from inside that event. Sort of off to my right behind me, somebody was apparently filming me. And they filmed a portion of the questions, and they just put up a couple seconds of the questions. The basic questions were, do you understand that part of you may not want to see that, will find it revolting? And I said, yes. And are you willing to absorb the truth of that? And basically, if I remember correctly from the event, it was like to see ourselves as we truly are was the genre of the questions, of like leading to a kind of a philosophical self-examination. And we might see some real ugliness in ourselves. And the title of this video, when they posted it on Facebook, was Russell, It's Only Getting Worse From Here, which to me did not make any sense.
Whoa, I wonder if that has to deal with what happened yesterday.
I think it does. We'll get to that in a moment.
Don't turn your back on her.
I think it refers to they keep seeming to expect me to always stand in someone's corner in this whole plot, and I think that's what this refers to. So the day after that, Mike, was the actual meeting with 3, correct?
Yes. Kim had her meeting with 3, and all of a sudden a Periscope pops up. We had all assumed that a Periscope was going to happen. So we see the Periscope, and it's around a diner, and you see the booths, and you go outside and you see the parking lot, things like that. And then the Periscope turns towards a window, and you can see a reflection, and it's Kim that's actually doing the periscoping. So she's on Tension's periscoping. And so we're all of us are like, oh my God, and I can't, what's going on? Where's 3? And so she goes and she sits down and she sets up either the iPad or the phone, whatever she was using. And there's food and there's pancakes and
chocolate cake.
Chocolate cake.
Very good looking chocolate cake, by the way.
Want me to hook you up?
I would love some.
I'll get chocolate cake's number for you.
Okay.
And so she's just sitting there staring at an empty seat. And then 3 appears. And I'm laughing because 3 is just 3. He sounds like Seth Green, but looks like an extra from Eyes Wide Shut with a sequin bow tie.
Yeah, he's wearing a sort of a Mardi Gras-esque mask. Kind of silver and gray, with a very pointy nose. He's dressed for the occasion. He's got a suit coat.
He seems like a caricature.
Yes.
Of someone. Like the way he speaks, he's very animated, and when you see this and then you read his posts in the voice that he has, it just makes me laugh. So after I saw that Periscope, I went back and I read the post about him, like describing me, yeah, stripping me of my title, and
he unscribed you. No.
Yeah,
described, unsubscribed. No.
Yeah, I think describing was the best.
You are no longer the scribe.
Yeah, and it reading that post was just hilarious. Because I'm picturing him doing all these mannerisms and in that voice and trying to catch Pokemon at the same time while typing.
Well, it's very funny because, people before this Periscope where we actually saw this guy and heard him speak and his mannerisms, he's sort of, his movements are very staccato and jerky physically, like sudden pointing and twitching almost. And so when people were reading his posts, everyone kept describing things to him like he sounds childish, he sounds manic, he sounds unfocused. Now that we've seen him, if you go back and read his posts, man, you can see all of it in his posts. We just didn't have a voice in our head that made sense. So, but yeah, as soon as you saw him on film, it was like, oh wow, now his posts sort of make sense.
Yeah.
So you can hear it definitely. So and he's consistent throughout the whole video of that manic, weird energy, which kind of made me laugh a couple of times. Even though it's a deadly serious meeting.
Well, I mean, it's hard not to when the waitress asks if he needs anything else. He's like, more knives, please, and she brings back like 10 different knives.
Yes.
It's like, and then it's just the little things like, oh, do you need a knife for that? Because I like mine sharp. It's like he uses one knife, so it's the sharpest it can be to cut each cut of pancake. And for Kim's
he likes
cake.
pancakes, obviously. That's very clear.
And then pouring the syrup on on her cake.
Yes, he poured syrup on Kim's chocolate cake.
There's just so many little things that are hilarious, like when you go back and look at it. But I mean, the message was not hilarious. The message, I mean, he definitely thinks he's the cat's meow and he's the final and end, and he's going to do anything he possibly can to tear anyone he doesn't like down.
Very true. And look, the whole purpose of this meeting, supposedly, in our point of view, those of us watching it, this was supposed to be a meeting where possibly Kim, if indeed she was no longer neutral, as Dela had apparently left their meeting thinking that she was no longer neutral, was Kim going to take the pill, which we know that the package contained, and do something with it?
Right. We were all thinking, and most of us hoping, that this was going to be the assassination of 3.
That sounds weird that we were hoping for the assassination of somebody. And so, of course, an opportunity arose. And that's 3 excused himself to go to the bathroom.
Like a gentleman.
Absolutely.
Like his manners at that point were on point.
Yes.
I mean, having brunch with the lovely Kim, a.k.a. Electric Hippo, and excusing himself the way he did in front of a lady, man, class act.
Yes, I totally agreed.
And this has ended the sarcasm portion of our podcast.
So, how would you describe what happened next, Mike? Because I want to inject my own theories as to purpose and plot and motivation. How would you see it? You take this one.
Well, okay, that's not weird. Well, so he went to the bathroom, and Kim found her a chance. She took a pill out, slipped it in his drink, and tried to stir it around. And as she was stirring it, he came back. And it was pretty funny because he's like, "Oh, you're stirring my drink. Thank you."
With a knife.
Yeah. And then he took a big gulp of water and started coughing, even though the pill was still in the water. So at that point, all of us were like, wait a minute. He's faking. He didn't really take it. He didn't drink it. And after about a minute, he just started laughing and made the announcement that BOS and 3 are now in cahoots and that Kim was a part of this. And then he asked Kim to show the pill the original pill that 4 had made. And so she took out the package, opened the pill bottle, removed the seal, "This is sealed" stickers, and showed people the poison pill that 4 had given her that was not used.
So this whole thing was sort of a setup for us.
Yep.
For us to fall for that this was an assassination attempt. And, what I was going to say is, like, the first tip I got, the first feeling I got of like, oh, we're being played, was the way she slipped the pill.
See, it's not so much that we got played because this was her choice. We all wanted something to happen. Most of us wanted something to happen, and it didn't happen. But this was her choice. Like,
all right, I'll respect that. I retract the phrase "we got played."
Right, because that's the thing.
We were toyed with.
Yeah. Well, we were hoping for one thing, and we didn't get it. It's like a crappy Christmas morning.
Well, and all due respect to Kim, she played this whole thing out beautifully, I thought.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's more power to Kim as far as like her I don't know, wily ways. So.
Yeah. 3 and BOS are teaming up now, and that's not good. At least not for me or other people. I mean, there are BOS sympathizers, I guess, on the forums, and people that have said that they stand with them now. But, after that happened, though, a lot of calls started going out, asking people to pledge their allegiance to a side. And Dela, who set up the meeting, posted on the forums that she announced her BOS affiliation. So it sounds like she was the one who got her mind changed, unfortunately, not Kim. And
another total surprise to everyone.
Right. So random calls started going out. People got calls from Gatekeeper 4. I think Andrew got a call from 4. Melissa got a call from 4. Other people got calls from random BOS people. I know Buzz, who was very against 3 and wanted his death so bad. all of a sudden was like, oh, guys, I got a call and I now pledge allegiance with BOS. And so we're like, what? What is going on? And then, Russell, you got a call.
Yeah, I not long after the Periscope ended, Addison called me, and it was, she seemed strong and confident, and she basically asked me, she said, I just need to know, Russell, will you stand with me? Which, in light of the video that had just happened, in the light of that we knew the phone calls were going out to people to declare a side, I assumed what she was asking was if I was OOA. But the question she specifically asked is, I need to know if you will stand with me. And that is the way she worded it, which I didn't, it went over my head a little bit, but it made sense later, which we'll get into. But yeah, and I said, yes, absolutely, I will stand with you.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to you when we get to that part.
And the phone call ended. And here's the thing, Mike, since you pointed out the phone call I got, you and I talked right after the Addison phone call, and you hadn't received a call, and you never did.
No.
And I have a theory on that.
Okay.
Because the calls were going out, and people were being asked to choose a side. Addison called me, asked where I stood, or not where I stood, if I would stand with her. I don't think you got a call, and I think it was very deliberate, because I think the reason you didn't get a call is because in the past, 4 has been counting on you. You're the one who drops truth bombs. You were the scribe until 3 took frustration out on you. So I think the reason you didn't get a phone call is because they are assuming that you are firmly on the OOA side and you are firmly standing with 4.
Right.
So, dude, you do realize if you switched to the Brothers of Seraph side right now, you would rock this entire thing.
I hereby yeah, right. No, I get that, and that's what other people have said as well. But
it's odd that you didn't get a phone call. I mean, it is. It's like I was really shocked because we talked in a few hours later, and I was really surprised, and I just immediately kept thinking that that's really odd that other people are being specifically asked and you never were. And I think it's because they feel that you're standing so strongly with 4.
Right. Yeah, maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is what it is,
But I hope you get a phone call.
I would have liked to talk to her that time because of what happened recently.
Yes,
but
I understand. I sense the melancholy in you, my son. Now, so much was happening so fast, day by day. The next evening, we were all taken a little bit by surprise by the fact that there's been this one little tab on the Tension Experience website that has been inactive. And suddenly, it was no longer inactive.
And they added a couple of extra links at the top as well. The link that Russell is specifically talking about is the tickets link. So tickets went on sale. Tickets are on sale now. With the ticket release, they released a new video as well. And it was very similar to the last video they released, but there were a couple extra frame-by-frame type of things. The main one is there was an image of the Sentinel logo, and it said, "This war is just beginning." So that is pretty interesting and awesome.
Which completely makes sense with everything that we've seen so far, with a possible assassination attempt, the turnaround of that, the fact that 3 is now aligning with the Brothers of Seraph. All of this stuff is nothing but political intrigue and melodrama. And so when they said this war is just beginning, that was exciting to me.
Oh, yeah. Because again, they kept saying how dark it's going to get. And it's like, this is the start. Like, bring it.
Yeah, and they just reinforced that with me personally saying it's only going to get worse from here. So it's like they've made reference to it several times, to you directly, I know, to me directly, to other people who are, who are involved in this. So, and I think it's starting to get darker. I think we have reached the point where it's starting to get darker.
Point of no return.
So now, if you click on the tickets link, you are taken to something called the Tension Experience Ascension. And the main headline is a fully immersive, site-specific journey of trust, betrayal, and submission. It basically says that Ascension is more than immersive theater, more than a haunted house, and more than anything you could possibly imagine. It is a journey into darkness with the possibility of being reborn in the light. You will be processed, tried, and tested, but if you succeed, you may find ascension. So they are very, very, very ambitious. They are offering descriptions. If you go farther and like try to actually purchase a ticket, they say that this is a, I believe, 2 to 3 hour experience.
Yeah.
Site specific.
As big as a city block.
Yes. They're indicating that this is on a massive scale. So the ticket price listed is $125, which compared to other immersive experiences, that is extremely reasonable. Yes, it is a high-end ticket price. It's as much as some Broadway shows in New York. It's as much as high-end theater here in Los Angeles at the major venues. But, you know, you're talking about a 2 or 3 hour experience. This, you know, I know a couple of our friends immediately went, "Oh my gosh, it's such an expensive ticket," but look at what they're promising.
Right.
You know, and if they deliver, it's going to be a bargain.
And here's the thing too. Even if we hadn't spent the last 6 months of our lives being fully immersed in this and physically and emotionally and going to all of these events, even if we didn't do that, I think if I just found out about it, I would still buy a ticket based on the artwork and based on that description.
Absolutely.
Even though it's over $100.
Yes, I would as well. This sounds really experimental. This sounds like something unlike anything Los Angeles has ever seen, possibly the theater scene in this entire country. So this is going to be interesting.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm so anxious to find out exactly what they have planned. Now, a couple of days after those tickets went on sale, Addison tweeted me directly, Mike. And something I didn't mention about the meeting at Derek's house, we said that Addison had come over to me and said, "Russell, this is not for you, that somebody else needed to have that package." Well, later that day, I tweeted Addison and just basically said, "Hey, you know what? Nice to see you. I wish you well." Well, after the tickets went on sale, a couple of days later, she tweeted me directly, and she basically said her path is now clear and she's no longer scared or afraid. Which was really interesting because she had called me and said, "I need to know if you're going to stand with me." And that tweet made it sound a little bit like she was declaring herself not independent, obviously, because she was still hanging out with 4, I assume. But you got the sense that something had shifted. And I wondered, even at that point, like, oh, I wonder if this relates to the phone call. Maybe it wasn't just me picking a side. And so my response, Mike, to her was, "Hey, that's good news, positive words. As I said, I stand with you if you need me," because I wanted to remind her of what I said in the phone call.
When you told me about that, I felt that she was almost trying to start her own army, like almost like a separate faction.
Really?
Yeah. Because the way she says it, like, "Will you stand with me?" Not "will you stand with us," meaning a group like the OA or her and 4 or anything like that, but with me. I don't know, just the way that she uses those words, it makes it think it's more of a single thing, and then that, instead of more of a collective type thing.
Interesting. So, because, yeah, you said something about the time of, like, she sounds so independent, or you said something like that to me at the time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I see your point.
And then also that day, I think it was the same day, actually, 4 was calling more people. Blondie, who's a new apostle on the forums, who lives in the UK, she got a call. And they told her something very interesting. They told her that she's going to be a storyteller because she's going to be the only one left to tell the story. So
that sounds morbid and cryptic.
We all gonna die. Ascension means everybody who buys a ticket will be dead.
So yeah, but no repeat players that way. Nobody will come back for the second time around.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, death can be a negative thing if you're trying to make money.
Yeah, because if we covered earlier, like if you're killed, you end up dead.
Yeah. Not if you're dead, you end up killed.
Yeah, so I've got to work on that.
But I just think it's so cool that they're reaching out to someone in the UK.
Oh, yeah.
First I thought it was cool they reached out to someone who lives in the same state, but 8 hours away. Then they reach out to someone who lives in Texas. Then they reach out to someone who lives in Missouri. Then they reach out to someone in the UK. They just keep going east. And it's awesome. Like, everybody is involved. Everybody can be involved, and it's awesome. Oh, on top of that, they reached out to someone in Canada, and this is global and international now at this point. And what other experience does that?
Yeah, it's fascinating. It is utterly fascinating what they're going for.
We've talked in the past about the community and how we are pretty tight, like the active players. So whenever we see someone new pop up on the forums that we really don't see post, we all get a little sketched out about it.
Juliet R. made a post. Now, she is someone who had been signed up for a while on the forums, but she came forward and said, she explained that she was a journalist and that she'd been approached by a PR firm regarding the tension experience earlier in the week, and she had responded positively to the PR email that she received, saying, yeah, I would be interested in writing something. And then she posted that she had received a phone call, except the phone call came from a blocked number, and there was a man on the other end of the line indicated that he represented the OOA, and that even though she had been approached about writing a story, she should not proceed in writing the story. And he instructed her apparently to walk away and drop the subject matter, and apparently slightly threatening said that if she exposed them, that they would expose her. Okay, well, you say that to a journalist, what's the first thing they're going to do? So, of course, she wrote an article, and she did say on the forum she would be interested in talking to people who had been, involved earlier than she was, and she was starting to get responses to that, and the LAist did publish an article. And then on Facebook, an image and a warning was posted that basically said, some people don't follow instructions. And it was obviously aimed at her. So once again, we have that weird threatening vibe about if they expose too much information, or they think you're going to expose something they don't want, or spin something they don't want spun in a certain direction, they're not afraid to sort of try to be intimidating.
But yeah, so, I mean, she did what she needed to do.
They had to expect her to write the article.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, if something happens to her, there's now proof. We can go back, and if she gets hurt or if she gets kidnapped or something, we can be like, look, they told her not to do this, she did it, and they posted this.
There's a smoking typewriter, is what you're saying.
No. But there's a trail.
Yes, there is. Absolutely, there is.
But it's also interesting why she got singled out, because there have been many articles written about tension, and nobody got threats.
True, and I wonder if it's because, did they notice a journalist not being active in the forums?
Or maybe because she's the one person that really does all of the same haunts and escape rooms and immersive theater that most of us do.
That's true. I mean, the LAist has covered other immersive events.
Maybe they know, because of the things she does and writes about and enjoys, they know she can handle herself.
Actually, I think you just hit on it, because they did say, if you expose us, we will expose you.
Right.
So it sounds like they feel they know something about her, or know how to get under her skin some way.
See, we just need to talk these things out.
So just a friendly shout out to Juliet. Watch your back.
I wish there could be a sound of me shaking my head in disgust, because that sound would be made so often on this podcast.
Oh, you find me amusing.
Oh, there's that sound again. We're recording this on a Saturday. Everything that happened yesterday blew our minds, and we're still trying to figure it all out.
I think it's still developing, actually.
Yeah.
So we're referring to July 22nd. And Kim went on the forums and posted that she had received a phone call and that she had been invited to a meeting in the Los Angeles area at 4 p.m. And when she posted this, it was in the afternoon already, so she just signed off as "I must go now."
Right.
Didn't sound like she had a lot of time.
Right, because based on where she lives, I think she lives in like South Orange County or something like that. So I believe she only had a couple hours to get there, and traffic at that time on a Friday.
Oh, it must have been hell.
Yeah, we feel for you. And then she said that her meeting got moved till 5. And then there was a picture on Instagram that showed a woman in a red hood, similar or maybe the same hood that was used from the hood event. And it turns out it was Kim. And the title was "Shall We Begin?" So we were thinking, what the hell is going on? Is she being tortured? Is she being questioned? What's happening?
Yeah, because all we had to go on was a single image on Instagram, and she was seated at a table as if she were waiting for something.
Right. And then nothing.
For a long time.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And finally, there was a Facebook update that's from Tension saying 7:10, be near a computer, or are you near a computer at 7:10? And so usually that's code for there's going to be a Periscope happening. Now, yesterday at 7:10, many of us were in a theater for the Blackout Experiments premiere. So all of this happening, 7:10 came and nothing happened. So a few minutes go by, still nothing. And it was a little late, but as soon as we saw the Periscope pop up, the lights started going down. And I was sitting next to you and Jake, and we were all like, "Oh my God, no! What's going to happen? We're missing the Periscope." But it was just funny. And Jake made a funny comment saying they know that we're all here because I said that we're here, so they're going to purposely wait so we can't see it until 7:30 or something like that. And it was really funny, and it really did seem that way. But apparently that Periscope was of Cody, who is Sovereign Skies on the forums, and on vacation with his family. He lives in Canada, and he's out here. And the Periscope was of him and Addison. And Addison had some blood on her, and she showed him an iPad, gave him earbuds, and the Periscope was basically his reaction of what he was watching. And then I really couldn't catch up because we were in the theater, and then we all hung out a little bit afterwards. But from what I gathered is that he was told that he would be able to get the video that he saw, and it was up to him if he wanted to share it and who he wanted to share it with. And later that night, he eventually uploaded it to YouTube, and that video changed everything. But before we talk about the video, let's rewind a little bit. Cody's important in what the video is about. He went on the forums and basically made a plea to Gatekeeper 3 and 4 saying, basically just hug it out in a way. Like, have a meeting, talk about it, things like that. And 3 was receptive to the idea. And he basically asked Cody to make it happen. And he did. He got 4 and Addison to agree, and the meeting was set for Saturday.
Yes, but we should also mention a very, very short Periscope that appeared with 4 and Addison, where Addison was shown by a fireplace with a yellow rose, and she was picking the petals off the rose, saying, "Shall I meet with him? Shall I not? Shall I meet with him?" And then 4 basically grabbed the rose from her, and it was an odd, interesting moment between the two of them, because it was sort of like, "Buck up, gal, you're going to have to be stronger than that."
Right.
And she turns to the camera and basically says, like, "Yeah, sure, we'll meet, and you need to rest up, sugar." And that was the end of the Periscope. So obviously 4 entered the game ready for a fight, I think.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I got so excited.
So Cody is key to all of this. So when he got that call, and we saw him watching that video later when we were able to catch up, like, it's hard to watch because you so desperately want to know what he's seeing.
Oh, yeah.
His expressions are all over the place. He's laughing at one point. He's deadly, gravely, seriously disturbed at another point. And at times he looks confused and perplexed. So there was no way. And so when Addison at the end of it says, like, okay, you have decisions to make, that's really interesting. But it all came from that Cody's instigation of that meeting, and Gatekeeper 3 went on the forums and said, yes, I'm game, and then 4 released that Periscope where she's obviously game. So the Periscope with Cody, Addison shows up with blood on her cheek. So that's really a grim image. So you know that whatever she showed to Cody was probably not good.
Right.
And we don't know whose blood it was at that point. We don't know anything.
And we were waiting hours for that video to show up. But I mean, he's from Canada, and so I mean, there's probably a cell phone data thing and uploading the video. So
well, he actually said at one point in the forum that he was having problems catching up, sometimes because of the data plans or something in California. So technology always working for you or against you.
Yeah. Back to the video.
The video opened like the Instagram photo that we saw earlier. It was Kim, and she was sitting at a table.
She still has the hood on, and she takes the hood off, and she's not the one filming, so there's somebody else there filming everything. We don't know who that person is, what their affiliation is, or anything like that. Kim then states that she's there to bear witness. And all of a sudden, we see 2 figures come through the door, and it's 4 and Addison.
Quick question for you, Mike. Do you think this was the location where we saw Addison scratch out the photographs and put them in a manila envelope?
Oh, yeah, it definitely is.
Okay, I thought that, but I just wanted to hear somebody else say it.
I actually tried to find out where they were in the building by looking at old Instagram photos and matching the way the structural support beams are facing. So it's like, okay, if you look behind Kim, they make a Y, but if you look in this one, in order to make it look like a Y, you would have to be to the left-hand side looking out.
Okay.
And, I started really kind of nerding out about that.
Yeah, it's like I think you can conclude one thing from that, though. God, you're a nerd.
Yeah. I'm just passionate.
Yes, a passionate nerd. So it is that same location. I thought the same thing, but we hadn't talked about that. And so she's there to bear witness. And they walked in, and it was very funny because they're almost backlit. So it took a moment for me to register, like, okay, definitely this is 4 and this is Addison approaching Kimberly at the table.
Right. And when she said she was there to bear witness, I thought almost like a mediator. Like 4, or maybe 3 needed someone else on his side because 4 had Addison, maybe 3 needs her because they have a relationship at this point.
Actually, that's what I thought. It was going to be 2 and 2. That's what I thought as well.
So Addison and 4 come in, and they sit down, and Addison kind of has a freak out, like about he's not here, and it needs to be her, and she needs to be the one, and 4.
She said something about not being sure, that she had to be sure, which I don't totally understand what that refers to.
Or maybe she has to be sure she's the one to kill 3?
Not sure.
Maybe. I
Not
don't
sure.
know.
But Gatekeeper 4 is obviously miffed, would be the way to put it, that Gatekeeper 3 was not waiting there on her. So she basically demands from Kim to know where he is, and she sits down, Addison sits down, and I take it that they heard a car approaching or something outside.
Yeah, that's what I got from it.
Yeah, and so she says, great, he finally decided to show up, and she turns to Addison and says, basically gives her the instruction that she needs to go out and make sure that 3 isn't up to anything. But before she does, she hands something over.
She pulls out this Rambo-looking huge knife and gives it to her.
Yeah. This thing is massive. So this is beyond camping knife. This is beyond machete.
Like, it was almost comical, like when you see in cartoons, when you see something like really long come out of someone's pocket. It seemed like that. It's like this huge knife just comes out of her purse.
Yeah, she pulls it out of her purse, and it is like the Mary Poppins moment of the umbrella stand. You know, the knife just keeps coming out. And then when she hands it to Addison, Addison is, you know, like 4 is taller than Addison, and so Addison is this short, you know, cute little blonde gal, and she turns and she starts walking out, and she's carrying this huge freaking knife. It's such an odd image. So,
And so Addison's gone, and then Four starts talking to Kim, and she goes on a little diatribe about living in the moment and feeling things, and about getting her nails done, and about constantly being filmed, and
how it makes them concentrate on the shallow things, which, if you recall, Mike, I have said before, that's one of the things I've liked about Gatekeeper 4.
Yeah.
Is the fact she really does. And at the end of it, there's a really sincere moment where she's trying to get that point across, where she says, live in the moment, be aware of everything around you. And it really shocked me when I watched this the first time. It was like, wait a minute. Like, is she really upset that the camera's filming her all the time? Is she really trying to get a message across to Kim? Is she trying to get a message to us, knowing that at some point we're going to probably see this video if we're following the tension experience?
Live in the moment. Live in the moment. Savor everything. Savor everything. Feel everything. Feel every sight and every sound. Every smell. Feel everything.
Like, I find that moment of sincerity really odd.
right.
And kind of creepy in its intensity.
You know what I wish, though?
What?
I wish that Gatekeeper 4 came when Pokemon Go came out. Can you imagine the stuff she would have said? Seriously. I mean, because I mean, she was like on us about like Facebook and likes and stuff like that. Can you imagine how amazing that?
Her rants
oh my
about
god!
Pokemon
yes.
Go? So Addison does leave the meeting while all this sincere ranting is going on from Gatekeeper 4, and for one brief moment, you see Addison in the background re-enter as if, you know, she's going to come back and let 4 know whatever she saw outside with 3's arrival. And it's during that time that the person filming starts swinging the camera back and forth between Kim and Gatekeeper 4 as Gatekeeper 4 is getting more and more sincere. And one of the things that Gatekeeper 4 kept stressing was live in the moment, live in the moment. And then Addison steps forward.
And she slits Four's throat.
Blood comes gushing forth down the front of Gatekeeper 4.
Really? Gushing forth? Oh. That's mean, dude.
Wow.
I'm mourning here. And you just throw her name around making puns.
I was not punning. I was not punning at all. I really wasn't. Sorry.
But yeah, we witness a murder. And after Addison does that, she freaks out and starts screaming like, I am too. I am in effing control. And it's very similar to the video that 4 made where she said, I am in control. So 4 did a great job in training Addison because
Apparently.
Now she's using her catchphrases.
Yeah, it's a disturbing moment to watch, and then the video ends with Addison looking at whoever is filming and saying,
Stop the camera!
and we get one final image of 4 face down on the table with the blood visible.
Mm-hmm. And blood squirt. And if you've ever seen any horror movie death, you know when blood squirts like that, they're dead. So,
and obviously Addison got some on her because this was the video that was shown to Cody.
Right. So there's a little time jumping around there. So this happened, and then Addison showed Cody, and then Cody came back and uploaded it to YouTube for all of us to see.
But the first thing we saw was Cody watching this video, but we were not given the information of what he was watching.
Right. So I was thinking about this, and you and Morgan were both the ones that she trusted and
True.
the ones she always reached out to. And if you're cool with it, I'd like to call Morgan right now and see how you guys feel about this and see if you feel the same or different? Because you guys really were the only two people that she connected with.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Okay.
Morgan and I really haven't talked in detail about this. He's joked with me a little bit on the forum, that, he did call out a little bit earlier that Addison sort of had the vibe of someone who was being abused. And most people said, no, she's just coming into her own. She might be confused, but she's finding her way.
Right.
The scariest phone call I've had this week.
Well, hello to you too.
Hi, Morgan.
Hi.
So, Morgan, it's Mike and Russell, and we are recording the podcast, and we just got to the point where we spilled the beans about Addison killing 4. And
Yeah, that's really something, huh?
Yeah. And I wanted to call you and basically have both your and Russell's viewpoints on what you think about Addison at this point, because you guys have been the only two people really connected with her. So I guess...
Okay. What would you like to know?
To begin, I should mention that after this video appeared, I took it on myself because people were theorizing about Addison's state of mind, etc. So I tweeted Addison directly, and I told her, recently you called to ask me a question. Please know I stand by my answer, my best to you. Because she asked if I would stand by her. She wanted to know if I would stand by her, and I said yes.
So I guess that's the question for you guys now. Like, you said you stand by her even after you seeing her commit a cowardly act of murder by doing it from behind, you're still going to stand by her.
I see her as a girl, as a woman in need who's in a very, very bad situation. I think she only saw that as her only choice. So you're expecting me to desert someone who says, I need you? And then she ends up doing this?
After murdering someone, yes, I would, you're gone. Because who says you're not next?
I need to know more of the story.
Murder is not a justifiable means.
No, I agree with you completely.
But you don't, because you're standing by her.
I don't know what standing by her means yet.
Morgan, what do you think about this?
Wow. Difficult. I assume you may have said that I recently said that I stand with the BOS.
Yes.
The last podcast, you said my name a lot. I didn't realize how much of the story I'd been involved with. One of the things that happened to me was Addison Skyped me shortly after the first mixer I attended in LA, the donut mixer. And she made me promise to help her. She said that she was in a lot of pain. She said that she couldn't escape the situation she was in. And she said that the OOA were changing her by putting her in the cap, which I said the helmet, and she said yes. And Addison started breaking down and crying on Skype to me. And she made me promise again, you're not filming this, right? I said, no. She said, you will help me. Yes, I will. And then she left. So, looking at what just happened, Addison isn't the first person that the OOA have changed like this, and she's probably not going to be the last. And the Addison who spoke to me is not the Addison that murdered 4. Something happened to her. The OOA seem very culpable. On the forum, I said it did look like Gatekeeper 4 was treating her very badly, and I think she was. I can't support the OOA, and I can't support Addison. Now, do I think Addison still needs to be removed from that situation? Probably. But right now, all I know is, how could I support the OOA? That's pretty much the only thing I can think of right now.
I think you have a very, very valid point, Morgan. I think she was in pain. I think 4 definitely was treating her very poorly, and I think what we witnessed was a breaking point. And I see that as a person in desperate need. So, no, absolutely murder is not justifiable. What she did was wrong. However, I'm not going to turn and say we should abandon her.
I don't think we should abandon her, but I don't think we can help her now. The video of Addison meeting Cody, that's a different kind of Addison. That is a murderous Addison. And the Addison that you and I were trying to help might not be walking on this planet anymore.
That's a scary thought.
When she screams that she's 2 and now she's in control, that wasn't the girl that you and I knew. So my only question now is, if she's gone, who's next? Is it going to be another girl? Is there going to be another person get trapped in this cult? Everything we've seen suggests that the OOA did this to her. You and I, Russell, there might be some others. I believe Joe Kay got a message, but otherwise there were very few people who heard what Addison was like before this. And that's why you and I have been paddling upstream a bit, trying to emphasize on the forum, we should probably try and help this girl. And as you know, we encountered a lot of resistance and people saying, this is her choice. We should stop trying to rescue a girl that doesn't want to be rescued. Well, clearly she did want to be rescued. But now, she's probably gone. And even if we did rescue her, what could we do? All I know is the BOS, I think, have been proven correct in this. They were on the side of trying to help someone who wanted to be helped. This raises questions about Tom Barrow and Benny, which we don't yet know the answers to. But as far as Addison goes, that's not Addison. The Addison that smirks and wipes blood off her face, that's not the Addison that cried to me and said she needed rescuing.
I see your point. I truly do. I'm torn. I'm utterly torn. I think it's a little fresh for me, Morgan, because of the phone call from just a few days ago.
See, and
yeah.
I think and that's why I wanted to call you and get both of your opinions, because it's pretty interesting that you guys had very similar experiences with her, but Russell still stands by her, and Morgan said you can't stand by her. So, and that's why I wanted you guys to talk and just get your different viewpoints.
I think Russell
I totally understand where Morgan's coming from, and I respect his viewpoint.
Sorry, Mark, can you say that again?
I think Russell is standing by the memory of Addison almost as duty at this point. The person he's standing by is not Addison. She's even chosen a new name to represent the new person she is. That is extremely honorable and pretty much exactly what I would have expected Russell to do.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how far I'm willing to go for her, but at this point, how I feel, the phone call that I maybe should have seen as more foreshadowing than I did, it's a tough call, but I'm not going to turn my back on this woman who called me and said, I need to know if you're going to stand with me. I just, and look, well, I think you can tell I'm stammering now because it's a weird situation to be in, but what you just said, Morgan, about that I might be standing for the memory of Addison, maybe that's true, but I'm willing to stand there for now.
I still have 4 dying yellow roses on my mantelpiece. And I've been looking at the photo I was sent from the dead drop in Lands Park near me, and remembering that equation, 4 minus 3 equals 2, that didn't work out. But it makes me think that message came from Gatekeeper 4 and not Addison. And I find that interesting, and that's probably irrelevant to what happens next, but it's been ticking over in my mind that the person who contacted me might have been Gatekeeper 4, not Addison.
Quite possible.
I have not actually been contacted since then, unless I'm forgetting something. I don't think I am, though. So I don't know really what my path is moving forwards. But there's always rumbles, and yeah, like you, I'm just concerned now. Where does this go? What just happened? Why is Gatekeeper 3 so quiet? And why has Addison not taken up her role as Gatekeeper 2?
I think Addison is sorting through some stuff right now. and just for the record, Morgan, I still have the dying yellow rose, which Addison gave me at the mixer, and I still have a teddy bear, which at some point Tom asked me to give to Addison if I ever have the opportunity, and maybe that Addison doesn't exist, but I will hold on to that teddy bear and hopefully someday have the chance to present it to Addison to see what the reaction will be. The
And that's
reaction may
something
be
else
me
that's
tied
in
to
my
a chair
mind.
in a basement being tortured, but I still want to get that to her.
That's something else that's been in the back of my mind. When I received a phone call from Tom Barrow telling me about what Mark or Benny had done, yeah, I don't have an answer or even anywhere to go with that. It's just lingering at the back of my mind. Why was I told that? What was the purpose in me knowing that? And I think you mentioned on the previous podcast, we talked a lot. We were wondering if we were doing the right thing in a couple of places where we felt there was a fork in the road. That's definitely one where I'm thinking, were we supposed to do something else with that information? Because we were warned specifically, if Addison found this out, it might push her away. It might turn her quite dark. So that has been eating at the back of my face for a little bit.
Understood.
Well, I think that's it. Morgan, thank you for letting us call you and talk about this.
Bringing the room down a bit.
Yeah.
Making us feel sad.
But I think it's important. I think it's important to do that because you both have different views on something. It's kind of like how you and I have different views on other things, and you guys are the most two involved. So I think it's important to talk about.
And I'm willing to say that I can see the logic that says I might be on the wrong side of this in the end. This may not work out well.
That's
for
where
me.
we all are, right? I think all of us now are seeing that there is no clean division anymore.
Right.
All we have is grey, fuzzy lines. So speaking of which, I know that both the OOA and BOS listen to this podcast. So, hi. That's about all I can say for now. Well,
Yeah.
hi. Hi, guys.
Yeah, as long as you don't start recruiting right now, we're good.
Morgan says hello to everyone.
Well, thank you very much for letting me come and invade the best horror podcast on the planet.
Stop it.
And I'm gonna get back to refreshing the forum rabidly.
All right. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow, I have mixed feelings about that phone call.
Based on what?
No, it's just like I see his point, and I am pining for an Addison that I don't know will ever return.
Right.
But I'm also foolishly, my God, am I smitten? Is that what's going on?
And you made fun of me for being all about 4.
Yeah, I did.
But here's another thing. I know I just said that murder isn't justifiable, and I said that because from what we know, there was no reason for it. But now they said the war is just beginning.
True.
This might be the throat slit heard around the world.
Interesting.
And with that being said, I mentioned this on the forums today, but is there an opportunity for vengeance? Can someone avenge 4?
Oh, I think somebody could, absolutely.
Because if they want a war and you're gonna kill my best girl, because I was her best boy, so that makes sense that she'd be my best girl, right?
Got it.
And I mean, here's the thing. What if I killed Addison? I mean, obviously, I have no way to do that, and it's just a theory, but based on how you feel about her right this second, what would happen on the next podcast if I came in here bloody and be like, oh, hey, what's up? So this week on Tension.
Wow.
But it's like, something to think about. And they always said it's going to get darker. You know, what if
Addison has made herself a target? That's absolutely clear. I understand that. And that's why I feel this pull from the phone call the other day. Like, she needs someone to have faith that there's a reason for what she did, and the Addison that I was told about.
you're her Mickey from Rocky, not Disney? You're standing in her corner.
Yeah.
Come on, Addison, get in there.
So, wow, not a bad version of Meredith. Okay. Yeah. So I know this may not go well for me. I've been warned that it may not go well for me.
Right.
So, that morning on Facebook, did somebody sense that this was about to go down and that they knew that I would fall for this if I'm falling for something? And look, I'm not the only one. It's like, we're talking about this as if there's like 3 or 4 people involved. There's a community that is splitting.
Right.
There's a community that is invested in the storyline, is on the forums, choosing sides and switching sides, and then turning around to us and saying, why aren't you with me? That's happened to me.
Well, and here's an interesting thing. You said, when we talked about me not getting a phone call earlier, you had said, like, well, it's probably pretty obvious that you're with 4,
Mm-hmm.
4's gone now. What? Like,
I think you're up for grabs. As of yesterday, I think you're a prize to be had.
Well, come on.
No, I do believe that. I think you're a target now for recruitment, for something.
See, and I don't see it that way.
Why not?
The way I think of it is, I have no place anymore by choice. Because 4 is gone. It's like, if anything, like, if I ran the world, I would start a rebellion a la Star Wars against both empires, against the OOA and BOS. And I would start a recruitment of, like, what was that? I would start a Dumbledore's army. For all
I was
you,
going to go with Mike Fontaine, Rogue Scribe.
Just stop talking. But no, like, for all you Harry Potter nerds, like we should start a Dumbledore's army. We should start a 4's army and take down 3 and 2.
No, I totally see where you're going with it. I don't think you're homeless.
But I feel it right now.
Okay, no, I understand. I do sense that, but no, I think, I think you are someone who is appealing to everyone right now because of your position.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. And we'll see what happens after they hear this podcast about me saying I want to kill everyone.
So really, he's a warm, fuzzy guy, folks. Yeah, so and basically this is where we stand. And I think why we have digressed is this is where we are in this moment. We are...
It's so fresh. It happened yesterday.
It's a community that is literally splitting. And there is doubt, there is fear, there is anger, there is, oh gosh, dare I say it, tension. Go ahead, make the noise.
Ugh, the shaking of head noise.
The shaking of head noise.
So here's another thing to consider. They just killed a major character, and we are about a month and a half away from the event happening. So they said on the ticket page on the FAQ that you don't need to be invested. You don't need to know the history of what's happened. So with all of this going on, I mean, what do you think? Do you think this part of it will be wrapped up by the time the event starts?
Well, I mean, if we're at Gatekeeper 2 now, who knows? It's like, I think this is a storyline that may dovetail into whatever the live event is. I think it has to some degree.
Right.
I can't theorize on that. I really have no clue.
Because someone had a good theory, and I forget who it is, so I apologize. But I almost wonder. I think it was Jake, maybe. But they said, like, maybe some of these characters would be in the experience, and for most people it wouldn't matter. But if we went through and we saw Addison, we'd be like, oh my god, it's Addison. Like, we'd have like these little Easter egg type moments.
Oh, I would, I would love that.
Something like that, or maybe like the posters that we saw at the mixer,
Dude,
or, something like that.
Am I crazy for saying this? But I
Yes.
want to wear the helmet again.
I can make that happen.
I am so curious about that like the effect that it has. Like I am so curious about that helmet.
Dear Tension, Russell has a request.
Oh, come on.
Hey.
No, I'm just like, because like look what it introduced and look where it happened in the storyline, and it references Addison, and I think that's why I'm so drawn to it.
Right.
Is because like it's like, what if I could understand more?
But if that helmet is what turned her into this, and you want more of that, I'm not turning my back on you.
I want to know. I want to know.
We would do the podcast with your hands chained to the chair then, because I don't need you creeping up on me and slicing my throat.
I just like that has come back to me recently, because of the changes in Addison. Tom Barrow telling me that was a factor. Like, I find all of that fascinating. I think it's like it's got to come back. So yeah, I'm really curious about that.
We always talk about community within the Tension experience and how important it is. And I wanted to give a couple shout outs to some new people that are new apostles to our community. The first one is Ale, and I so hope I got your name right. This is the first time I actually used the Facebook "you pronounce your name like this" feature. So I hope I got that right. But she's written to us. She's listened to the podcast and said how helpful it is, and wrote to you today about the blackout experiment.
Yeah,
so,
she apparently has already downloaded and watched the film and sent me a very nice message commenting on some of the stuff that I touch on in the documentary and how she related to it. It was a very, very nice message, and I sincerely appreciate that.
So thank you again for listening and writing us. You're amazing. And then the next person is Blondie. On the forums, aka Vicky in real life, and she, same thing, listens to the podcast, so thank you. She actually sent us a box of UK candy.
Yes.
Whoa. And that is incredible to me. The conversation that her and I had that started everything was hilarious, because she was convinced that I was part of it. Like, I was part of Attention, and she basically called me out in a private message. And I'm like, no, like, I swear, like, I'm just a nerd, like, looking at all the angles and, playing it and playing that way and stuff. But we got in the conversation about chocolate and how UK chocolate tastes different and things like that. And she went out of her way and sent us a box of Snickers and Kit Kats and other random chocolate, and it's all delicious, and I want to thank you so much for that. It's awesome, and we're eating it now. And I know I'm team Snickers, but I can always admit that Kit Kats are good. Like, I'll eat Kit Kats. It's not like I'm anti Kit Kats. But she sent peanut butter Kit Kats, which I've never seen before, and it's really good.
And I knew that they existed, but I have never experienced one. And we thank you so much.
Yeah, so thank you again. So that's the update for now from Tension, from the Tension experience. And who the hell knows where this is going or what's going to happen next. But whatever happens, we will do our best to make sure that you know about it. And we're going to split this podcast up again because we realize we are rambling for almost 2 hours again. And so this first part will be about Tension, and the next part we'll talk about everything else. If you want more information about the Tension experience, you can check them out on the web at thetensionexperience.com, on Facebook, The Tension Experience, on Instagram, _tension_experience, and on Twitter, _tension_exp. And
we really have no idea what else to say.
Yeah. So thanks for listening to the Tension part. And you should listen in a few more days about the other stuff we've done, because we actually do other stuff other than hang out on the Tension forums all day. So I'm Mike.
And I'm Russell.
Thanks for listening. All right, you ready?
No, but let's do it anyway.
All right, that's a good sign.